The second of the four kinds of moral values that we're discussing this week is justice. There are a number of different kinds of justice. We'll focus primarily on distributive justice. Justice basically has to do with how benefits and burdens are distributed in a society. It's fairness in regards to what one must contribute to society and what one receives from society. There are a number of different kinds of justice. The first is distributive justice. This is fairness regarding the ways in which resources, opportunities, and responsibilities are distributed among those in society. For instance, how is wealth and income distributed? Should there be a social safety net in society? And if so, how strong and how wide should that net be? What kind of policies should government have in order to prohibit, prevent, or discourage discrimination? And finally, what should policies be regarding taxation? Who should pay taxes and how much? Retributive justice is justice regarding how society is protected from criminals and how criminals are punished and/or restored to the community. Compensatory justice is fairness in the ways in which people are compensated when they're wronged by individuals or by institutions. We'll have occasion to talk more about compensatory justice when we discuss producers' responsibilities in a future week. There are a few different approaches to distributive justice. The first is egalitarianism, the view that everyone should receive the same amount of a society's benefits. Some egalitarians will make a distinction between political equality on the one hand and economic equality, holding that everyone should have the same sort of standing before the government, before their fellow citizens, but it might not be the case that there should be equality in terms of economic standing. Other egalitarians would hold that there should be both kinds of equalities. We should not only stand in the same place of dignity and respect with regards to our society, but that we should also end up with the same amount of economic resources. Capitalistic justice is the view that everyone should receive whatever benefits match their contributions to the market. Thus, if I'm someone who's talented and contributes a lot to society, I should receive more benefits. If I'm someone who cannot contribute much to society, I should receive fewer benefits. The opposite of capitalist justice is socialistic justice. This is captured by the saying that from each that everyone should receive according to his ability, and to each according to his need. This idea was popularized by Karl Marx and reflects a kind of attitude that we often hold to our own family members if we come from a good family that's loving and supportive. If my brother, for instance, were to become disabled and was not able to work, I would gladly help to support him, as would my sister. The socialistic viewpoint on justice says that we should extend that kind of consideration to all of humanity, or at least to all of those in our society. The approach of libertarian justice is the view that the right to liberty is the most important principle and that it takes precedence over all others. This means that I should have the right to do what I want to with my own money. Therefore, taxation will be non-existent, or at least really small. A libertarian government will be one in which the government provides a military and a police force, criminal justice system, and perhaps infrastructure. Beyond that, it would be unjust for the government to take resources from people without their permission in order to provide benefits to others. Approach to justice, at least in the Western world, is the idea of justice as fairness, and it's been explicated by the philosopher John Rawls. Rawls has us go through a thought experiment called the veil of ignorance. He says that we should imagine that we don't know anything about our particular status in society. We don't know our race, our gender, our ethnicity, our religion, our income or wealth. We don't know any of those details. He says, imagine that we're under this veil of ignorance and ask the question, what kind of principles of justice would we come up with? He believes that under the veil of ignorance, that we would insist upon equal freedom or liberty for everyone. In fact, we would all choose a maximum amount of liberty. If I don't know what my status in society is going to be, I at least want to be assured that I'll have the freedom to pursue happiness as I see fit. Because I could be a member of society with very unpopular views. So it will be important to me, under the veil of ignorance, to provide principles that will maximize freedom for me when I come out from under that veil. So the principle of equal liberty is the first principle of Rawls's view of justice as fairness. The second principle is called the difference principle, and that is that social and economic inequalities in this society are arranged so that they're to the greatest benefit of the least advantaged persons. We have a debate in our society about the gap between the rich and the poor. Rawls believes that that gap, both in terms of wealth and income, should be small, but only when a smaller gap is actually best for the least advantaged person. So this leaves us with a pragmatic question, and that is, what level of progressive taxation would best provide a strong opportunity economically and socially for those who are disadvantaged? It may be a very large gap, it could be quite a small gap, but if I'm under the veil of ignorance, I'm going to be concerned that when I come out from under that veil, I might be one of the most disadvantaged persons in society. And I want to make sure that once I come out from under that veil, that I'll have every opportunity I need to succeed, which means I have access to economic resources. So the difference principle is that there can be a difference between the rich and the poor, but that difference should always be such that it actually helps the least advantaged. The second half of this principle is called the principle of equality of opportunity. And that is that social and economic inequalities should be arranged so that they are attached to offices and positions in society that are open to all, under conditions of fair equality. So there are positions in a company that will pay more money. There are certain fields of work that are more lucrative. That's fine, as long as all of those positions are truly open to everyone in society. When we talk about discrimination later this term, that's going to be a key question for us. What kind of policies should businesses and governments have to ensure that social and economic benefits are available to everyone based on their choices and their hard work? Here are a few questions to keep in mind. First of all, what are the relevant factors that determine who receives which benefits and who is responsible for bearing burdens in society? Look carefully at the different views of justice to see which ones you agree with the most. Also, how do we balance various claims of justice? For instance, when we talk about discrimination in the workplace and we discuss affirmative action programs, some will claim, look, I am a person of color, or I am a woman, or I'm a member of another underrepresented group, and when I go to get a job or when I look for a promotion, I'm being discriminated against. Therefore, affirmative action is required to make sure that I receive the fair benefits that I should receive based on my abilities. But we might get a competing claim from someone who's a white male. This person might say, look, I was clearly the best candidate for this promotion, but someone else was chosen over me because of gender or because of race or because of some other factor. What about my justice claim? And so what we want to think about is, when we have competing claims of justice, how do we balance the two so that we can actually be fair in the way we order our justice claims? Finally, how do we balance justice concerns with those of other moral values, such as utility or such as the view of rights? This is something we'll be practicing throughout the term.